Hello, this is Mike with the Amish of Ethridge, and today I've got both of my audiences present in this video. Just depending on where you're watching this, you might be one of my course subscribers, so welcome all of you guys that have purchased the course, The Complete Guide to Visiting the Amish of Ethridge. This is a course designed for people that's going to want to come here to the Ethridge area to visit the Amish and see some points of interest. We show you kind of how to plan out a good itinerary, all that sort of thing, connect points along the way. Something we call the lasso method, which is basically connecting a few dots back around to your wherever you live. Now, if you're coming in and out of here with an airplane, this is part of a rental car and it'll probably be part of a system of hotels, all that sort of thing. Now, if you are getting in that rental car or in your own car and coming to the Ethridge area, what we're going to try to do in this particular video, because the rest of this audience is obviously on YouTube. You're probably not watching this in the course, so we're going to give you kind of well, let's face it, a little bit of a clue in to some of the things that you can print off if you buy the course, which is only at the time of writing this or the time of speaking into the microphones, only $50. Now, we'll go up to $80 after a pretty good slump in the sales. I feel like most people have already bought it, but there might be a continuation of coupons or a connection to other courses we produce later on in the year. The reason I do what I'm showing you here is that I want to really include families, all right? Whatever combination that you have, I don't mind. I want a lot of kids to come here, especially. So to help you in this, what I've designed in these Canva and other print-offs that I've created is that we want to include your kids. Now, if you've bought this course, you get a certification, sort of at the end, so you can print off your own certificate. But what we've decided to do is go through some of these areas of things, depending on the age range of your kids. I get it. So that at the end, they get their own certificate. Yes, you could print this off. You can write their names and stuff like that. And you can invent whatever you want as a parent in order to make you a kind of a course breakdown that they can do, okay? And, of course, you could keep this all written down in your notepad so that you can kind of keep notes. It's like Santa's list. They're checking it twice. You know the drill. So, oh, it's shiny. I better flip this around. So, anyway, depending on what age group that your kids are in will depend on kind of how you as a parent are going to make this certification kind of thing happen. And what happens is that we want to not only involve them in just the stuff like coloring books, which I'll explain in a minute, but even in things like where it says vehicle preparation checklist, so that they get used to car maintenance and all that sort of thing. I really want you to educate them and let them be involved in the whole step, okay? The whole planning and everything. In the course, I lay this out. For you guys that are on YouTube, you're along for the ride. I will be putting a link to this in the bottom so you can look on our sales page to see if this course is for you, okay? And this will not only help with coming to see the Amish of Ethridge, it just happens to be that Ethridge is a very friendly to the outside world Swartz and Trooper Amish community that has been here since the 1940s. They're very well established, and it happens to be between, well, Nashville, which is the only music city, and Huntsville, which is Rocket City. So if you want to see any of their points of interest, or the Shoals community, this is where Fame Studios, they have a studio tour. It's Helen Keller's birthplace. A lot of good things happen down in the Shoals as well, which is only like 40 minutes drive from here. So it's very quick to see a lot of cool things if you come to this area. And that's primarily what I do, okay? As far as whether or not your Amish person is going to have the stuff you want or the season or any of that sort of thing, that is also discussed in the course, okay? So I'm not going to go in that right now. What I want to show you here is if you do buy the course, these resources are available to you. And from that point, I'm going to proceed. Now, if you do have young kids who love a good coloring book, I made up, these are like 16 pages of different coloring book. On each one, well, I just opened it to this one. This happens to show a boat, a boat, well, I guess it's kind of like a kayak or canoe more than anything, but one is a lot more simple, and they get more complex until the point they get a very detailed drawing. We'll just switch to something different. Here's the state of Tennessee, the state flag, a tomato, anyway, and of course right here is the mockingbird. So you could see, just depending on me kind of shuffling through here, back to the boat again for some reason, where there's a house, and there's different variations, so that even if you did have an older child who was given a coloring book, up to about, 10 or 12, I guess, is about where these, because of course if you get 13, it's going to be like, oh, Mom, and they're going to want something a little bit better. So let's talk about a little bit about the better. What I have here is a scavenger hunt. There's multiple pages. Whenever you do click on the download, each one is a bit different, so you might have them in different categories. I figured 3 was good. If you do have more than 3 kids, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? But 3 of them at least in here could give you a pretty good scavenger hunt. And they start off with like school. And I guess this can go for if you as a parent want to make it strictly a Amish school, the one bedroom or one bedroom, 1 room schoolhouses, something like that. It says flashing caution light, grocery store, somebody on a bike, which could be seen, statue, church, playground. It just goes through here. And one person can easily do all 3. So you could print off all 3 of them for each kid. And I happen to have them in a blue color. You could change that to black and white. You can send them off. They're in a printable PDF in the CMYK color space, which is good for printing. The JPEG is also there if you just click on it and save it. If there's a service that only requires JPEGs. So I want to make that accessible. We also have a different kind of road trip. Maybe it's a little bit younger of an audience, where there's a larger square, all that sort of thing behind me here. You can also see them. And that's going to give you a good indication of keeping somebody kind of looking out the window. Keep in mind that just about everybody over a certain age with a phone is going to want to be doing this. They kind of keep their head down and up periscope ever so often. Then at the end of the day, you ask them, what did you like about the Amish community? They'll be like, the roads were bumpy, because all they did was this. So what I'm trying to do is keep them from this, or like falling asleep, and being involved in seeing. And of course, some of these scavenger hunts might make them kind of enthusiastic about getting something like this certificate at the end of all of it, in hopes that they pay a little bit more attention, or at least don't cause problems. I'm not sure. I'm going to let that be up to you. I'm not telling you how to parent. Now, the way I typically pack this stuff up, let me put this book, that's coming up later, is either in a manila envelope like this or a folder. Either one of these will do. This one happens to be of a thing that came for somebody else in the mail, but it's a place I regularly see, so it's okay. Let me just put it like that on top of that Amish hat. These are about $15. So if you get one just to put on a wall, they're very inexpensive. Different Amish people have them, but they all tend to wear them because an Amish man can't really be outside without his hat. So that's kind of one of their ordinary rules. Now, I definitely recommend getting a clipboard. Most of us already have these. This happens to be my dad's for when he worked at a place about 30 years ago. And it had his route on it. It said Mike's. So he would pull this off his kind of like little hanger, and that would be his route for the day. Then he got to be the warehouse foreman and manager and all that sort of thing. So he didn't get to be put on a truck, but he still had a purpose for this. So this is like 40 years old. So if you do have something kind of sentimental, I'm passing it on to my daughter so that she could take, well, let's face it, if you get your windows down and all that sort of thing, papers blow everywhere. And you can kind of keep up with it out of here, put it in here, and now they can color, and they got kind of a backstop, you know what I mean? Something like that. I think in the course I mentioned even taking things like a, what is those things called? If you buy or you bring a cutting board, it'll also work. It's just typically a cutting board that's been used will have a little scratch, which will make a little line, and of course, my kid's autistic. She's not just mild, she's like what they call moderate whenever she took all of her tests. So if she sees a line, she doesn't know how to fix it. So having something smooth, and these are relatively inexpensive, they're sold just about everywhere, and you probably have some. So that's kind of why I bring this up. So I'll continue through the rest of this video talking about the idea that you do get a clipboard of some form. So after we get the scavenger hunts, which could easily go here too, it makes the children usually feel official and powerful. So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, when they're a baby, they scream loud because they feel powerful. It makes them almost feel better to scream because they know they're getting everybody's attention because they'll take help from anybody. But one of the things about having a clipboard is it makes them feel like they're in charge. Every kid wants to be the boss. So we did make up a few of these things that you can go along with your child. And, okay, let's just say we play along, okay? We go to play along with some of these. And this is going to start teaching, we'll say from about 7 to 12 in this age range, because I don't think they care as much about this as some of the younger ones. We'll go through some of the younger ones that want to hold the clipboard too. But I have a vehicle preparation checklist. Now I also, and this one right here is partially filled with a little check mark. They can check it off. This is also good for us parents because it starts with fill up the fuel tank, and sometimes if you need to do that. We also left this one blank so that, like, for example, if you do have a teenager and you say, okay, well, what do we need to do? And you have this one, but you're going to make them think up and say the other ones. You see what I'm saying? So this is going to promote more of that Socratic dialogue. It's like, well, shouldn't we put gas in the car? You know, those kind of questions. Oh, yeah. Well, don't you think you should write that down? Okay, hold on. Put gas in the car. What else should we do? Get in the car. No, hold on. Because I'm kind of leading you through this, right? Get in the car? Well, yeah, that's what we do. But what do you think? Is there maybe some other things we should put in the car? Food? Yes. Okay, let's put snacks. That's coming up right here. And with your dialoguing, with your talking, you know what I mean? You're having this discussion and you're having time. You pay kids in minutes, your time. And if you say, well, shouldn't we check the battery? And then you can, as a dad to son or dad to daughter, I don't know, mother, daughter. There's been some females that's all about the cars. I'm just saying that whatever person that's into the car or vehicle maintenance, or both of you, can teach all the kids about, okay, especially if they're about to get a car, you know what I mean? If you got teenagers, well, how do you think we check the battery? Is there indicators? Maybe there's something in the dashboard we can put that maybe says, menu, and this fold down tells you how many volts you're getting and all that. Well, is there a way to check how much gas is already in the car? Well, let's go see. Some kids have never seen the gas hand. They just don't know. And we don't ever think about telling them because we just learned it and just went on with life. So what if there's something you can do with the car to show them how to check the oil, check the windshield wiper fluid, because let's face it, these Amish farms are in the country, lots of bugs, and in the evening, in the mornings, those bugs get smashed all over your windshield. So you want to make sure you have plenty of windshield wiper fluid and something that could get it off. Because sometimes you smack into some big katydid looking thing and it's not going to come off. You have to physically get it off with something like a solvent. So maybe having some of that in discussion. So that's what I'm trying to do. I want to strengthen families so much. I really want that. And a lot of times it's through communication. And there's a lot of really good things in here about ensuring tire tools are in the car. Well, how much pressure is in those tires? You know what I mean? So, or what makes a good tire? Doing the penny test, if you don't know about that, or dime test. It's called different things, where you test how much tread is left on a tire based on how far it can go down in the penny, all that sort of thing. I'm a 1978 model, so my dad was pretty good about showing me all this sort of thing. So I want to use this, as a good guide. And if they are younger, let them use this guide with the with it already filled out, so that you just push a check mark. And trust me, all of these things like jumper cables down here at the bottom, good thing to have. So if you do come up with more than what's on here, you could also use this as a good way, as like an overflow, okay, to what's here. So that's some about the car. So let's talk about another checklist that you could fill out. And that's this one in particular. It's got the important here. Like I say, it's in your dashboard of things. This is not all of them. It just happens to be some that I want to pick out, or else this will be 2 hours long. So what I'm going to say about this one right here is that you can basically use a lot of the packing checklist for clothes, accessories. It says other. If you have a pet, pets probably eat. You know what I mean? They're probably going to want a water bowl because they can't do this. They have no thumbs. So it's like, oh yeah, I brought water, no water bowl. Way to go there, buddy. You know what I mean? Basics, toiletries, electronics, shoes. Very important to have a whole lesson on what to wear depending on what season you're in. All that sort of thing. And then, of course, important. Do not forget these. All that sort of thing. You don't want to, maybe like Home Alone, you don't want to forget a kid, that sleeps late. But just whatever you feel like you need to do. And you put name, date, destination. And you could, I do have a chapter in Module 4 that talks about your vacation, how to chronicle your vacation. What happens when you get home after you've been to the Amish community? What do you do to chronicle that? And I talk about this. So this is a good, important thing if you have filled out to follow what my teaching is in that. So that's pretty good. Now, if you want some ideas for younger kids, okay. So these are pretty good discussion makers. They can do this same thing, put it in this clipboard, and grade mom and dad and make them feel powerful. You know what I mean? Because this is going to go over, there's 3 of them, I believe. Yeah, 3. And this is going to cover the different snacks. Like this, this one right here says drinks for your group. Let's start with that one. So it has a resealable bottles. You know what I mean? Let me flip it around. I can't hardly see it. Non-refrigerated drinks. Refillable bottles. Water, soda, sports drinks. Don'ts. Quickly spoiled drinks like milk. You know what I mean? We don't want to take milk on your trip. You know what I'm saying? Cans of drinks. Why? Because cans can tip over. Kids are really bad about it. So you can have a discussion about why we don't do this. Glass bottles. Big time. Only time I've ever had a glass bottle to really break is she left it in the floorboard, and whenever she opened the door, it sort of just rolled out on its side and kabloom! It just blew up. It was weird. Of course, milk and juice, and of course, we don't bring alcohol. I know some of you guys are going to do that anyway if you're not driving with kids, or if you do drive with enough kids. Put it somewhere where they're not going to be tempted to get into it. So, all that sort of thing. So, my dad was a bowler, so I got into his beer all the time. Because they would drink it till it got hot, and it was up to me to go throw it away. And I just could never take to drinking. I was just like, how do these guys do this? Just never took to me. Probably because I got it out of the way early. Yeah, anyway, snacks for your group. So we're going to go over sweet and savory. This is things like cereal, things that you can kind of put in a bag, maybe something with a lid, all that sort of thing. Savory is going to be crackers, pretzels, potato chips, all that sort of thing. And it's because if you, and I always recommend, actually, in the, let me back up just a second. In my video where I take you for 2 hours and 7 minutes out with a 360 cam, it's it's on my dash basically coming down, and one of the Insta 360 cameras, so you can see me and the road. I get in this absolute thunderstorm. I mean, huge, just blowing. It starts raining. My car's hydroplaning. I'm going like 20. It looks faster on the video. But anyway, I'm all over, and I start eating some chips because it makes Dad feel better. You know what I mean? So don't think it's just for the kiddos. No. When I was eating, holding the wheel, going slow, it made me feel better. So anyway, we're going to go cover some of those. Of course, this other one's going to be for if you're healthy snacks. So we're going to talk about apples, bananas, granola bars. Savory is going to be carrot sticks, nuts and seeds, deli meats, stuff like that. Celery. So those are going to be a good way that you can plan on as a family. Sit down with these lists and go, okay, now what should we plan for snacks? You know what I mean? And it's going to get that conversation started. So they can tell you what they want, all that sort of thing. Now, for people that are a little bit more, how do I say this? Okay, how do I say this nicely? The people that are really big about itineraries. This is usually for a mom or dad that's like really dialectical about what time we get up, what time we need to be out of the shower, what time do we need to be sitting at the breakfast table, and what time do we need to be saying hello to our first Amish person. And they need to know this, and that, and the other. They're going to spend 4 months planning which hotel was the best. I also go through places to stay within the course, also where to eat, and the other points of interest, all that sort of thing. And I mean for this to be a family ordeal, because if you got, say a mom and dad, 2 kids, so 4 people, you know what I mean? So with the 4 people, you got a son that likes to skateboard or do some kind of activity, and you realize that there's Summertown Airsoft down the road, and you're like, okay. And he's just like, I want to play, you know what I mean? You're just like, wait, hold on there, buddy, And that way you can kind of say, well, this is going to be for him. Or they might have one girl that's like, I want to shop. I want to go do something downtown and on the square where they get the little trinkety shops and all that stuff. That's great too. So if that's your sort of, algebraically speaking, your X factor, you need to solve for X equals, question mark. Everybody's going to have something besides seeing the Amish, what they want to do. Now, if everybody in the family just wants to hang out in the Amish community all day, more power to you, but most people don't, all right? They want to see something different after about 1 or 2, and then sometimes, especially if you're here in the summer, and you go around 8 to about 11 or 12, you've got a pretty good amount of Amish farms you've been able to see, but about 11, 12, 1, 2, it is miserably hot. So if you're like, hey, I seen a bowling alley on that guy's, to-do list over here, let's go sit in the air conditioner and play around a bowl, So there's throwing axes. There's all kinds of stuff to do here in the middle of the day when it's hot. And then after about 3 or 4, you can go back out into the Amish community a little bit more. And all that sort of thing. So there's ways of kind of getting out of the sun, or a big thunderstorm's about to happen and you're looking around, and that's where these points of interest are going to kind of come in. So when you need to make up a schedule, like this one here, oh, it's a different thing right here. Any of these that have like lodging place, all that other stuff to see, what's this one say? Weather, it's got like a little thing here at the top, and you can really fill this out. And if they get, and this is bad, if you get some people that are a little bit yippy, I guess, part of your family who are like not wanting to get up at 7 in the morning, you can point to it. Look, you agreed to this. This is the itinerary we discussed before we left. And just like school, you have to get up and just do it, or work or anything else. So that's a good way of kind of pointing to something that's part of their daily lives into something that's new to them. So having everybody in agreement on some kind of thing kind of makes that person that feels like they're contractually, the approval manager. So it kind of appeases both sides a little bit. So that's why I've made these up, all that sort of thing. I'm more like go with the flow, but I know that flow usually goes over a waterfall if you're not careful. So you need to have some structure, or else you're going to get up at 11:47 and go, where did the day go? So I did print off, well, there's two of these for some reason, but the road trip planner. This is another kind of purplish thing, and it's a little bit less structured as kind of a white piece of paper. But it kind of accomplishes the same thing. It does mention in this one food to eat, places to go, schedule, notes down here. So you remember the one child who wants to play at Summertown Airsoft. He'll be there all day and night if you let him. So you have to kind of say, well, we're going to play for this many hours, all that sort of thing. So that's a good way to kind of indicate on more of a kid's version. So when you do see these two, one of them could be for you or an older child, and this one could be for a younger child. And they could put it in their stack. So once you get a stack of these, you can kind of have a little cheap envelope, and that could just be, inside here. And you can write their name up here, and it looks really official, parents, all right? When a kid gets his sort of dossier, and here's his letter or his folder, and it's got all of their stuff in it, and they're also not to lose it, you know what I mean? It gives them a sense of, I trust in you to hold on to this. So in one of your sheets, you could put, basically, do not forget the dossier, the planner, all that stuff, the folder with their name on it. And somebody could be in charge of making sure, like an older teenage child can make sure that her or his younger brothers and sisters or something has their folder with them when they leave, all that sort of thing. So I put that in there. The last thing is I put a road trip playlist. If you do have a lot of teenagers and they want to play their favorite song on the radio, I'm sorry, parents. They love this. We remember having to listen to Baby First television and all the little songs and all the little characters that they loved when they were kids. And we kind of have this block where we tune it out a little bit. But this is a good way to kind of talk about that, Now, it could be that they have a playlist and it's on their own device, and they have a phone, and they have those little earbuds, and they're going to listen to their road trip. So if you do have a child that's older, who knows how to use electronics very well, who's already used to and has the permission to get songs that they can make up their own, a little playlist, a little soundtrack, or if you will. And that might cheer them up whenever things aren't going right. And like I say, if they want their little certificate, or they don't really care, but they kind of want to try, you know what I mean? You could make that a check mark for them to do. So I think those are neat. I did have them come up in two different versions. I have a kind of a black and white and a colored one. So let's talk about while you're in the car. Now this is going to make a bigger difference if you come from a long way off, or you're in a major metropolitan area. Say you're going from, I don't know, I usually use the term, the Jimmy Buffett lyric, she came down from Cincinnati. I think it's in that Fins or something song. And you're going down the interstate, and you get on to 65 or I don't know, you take another 75 and you're going to 40 and you're coming down. You're probably going to see a lot of license plate. And one of the fun games you can play ever since we were kids, you know what I mean, as parents, we had a license plate game. So you want to see where everybody came from. It's a good way to kind of put this in here. Kids have both sides of the car usually, you know what I mean, depending on what lane they're in. Semi-trucks are cool because they come with a different license plate a lot of times, and there's a bunch of them. It's a good way to kind of get more license plates. You know what I mean? So whether or not you want them to call out a license plate or not, or just serendipitously remember, but that's going to be up to you. Like I say, I'm not going to tell you how to parent, but that's a good way to kind of fill out as many as you can. Of course, if it's secretive, when you're not doing, I guess, looking at your phone as much. A child might have more than the other ones. Of course, they'll rub it into all their siblings. And unless they're like my child. We only have one child. You know what I mean? We're probably going to be all right. We'll probably just call it out and let her or him or whatever one child person, or if you have two children that are relatively younger, they all they don't want to miss anything. So it's a good way to kind of keep this with them. They could put it in their clipboard and sort of lift it up. If they're working on something else, you can show that to them when it's time. Another cool game, while we're talking about younger kids, is the car game, the rainbow car game. Now, if you don't know anything about the rainbow car game, and I printed off two different versions. One of them has a kind of a little bit more sportier car in here. It's like one of those Italian type sports cars. But basically, if you're driving, you know what I mean, and you see a red car, you go, red car, and you hope to find all the colors of the rainbow, and then you just start again. Now, you can, if you want, put like a line, the little sideways line after you get to 5. You can see how many times you've done that. Now, if your kid hasn't completed it, like I said, mine is autistic. She's also ADHD, has a lot of different problems. She was 1 pound, 13 ounces at birth. That's why when you go into the Progeny Adventure group, you're going to see the Premium Paradox. It's another show we run, all that sort of thing. So what I end up doing, if they can't complete their rainbow, is to find a huge car lot, just one of those mega places that sell cars, or a big parking lot like a Sam's or Walmart, and just drive up and down, because usually you can do this 2 or 3 times. If it's on a busy day, you're going to have to go slow anyway, and you're going to find sometimes the color like plum, it's close enough to purple. You see what I mean? Or you can ask them, is that one a purple car? And they'll usually, even if it's not quite indigo, it's going to be an indigo car. You see what I'm saying? It's just, don't make it so, don't run around here with a color swatch, up to the car to make sure it's what it is. Give them a little leadway, all right? And let them complete their color car, system here with rainbow car. And like I say, I put a lot of funny looking colors around it. Print them off. If you have a bunch of kids, print a bunch of them off. All that sort of thing. Now we also have to kind of end some of this with, is the road trip bingo. You could print several of these off too. They're going to be kind of whenever you see something, cow, river, free spaces in the middle, restaurant, drive-through, you go bingo, because you can go this way, that way, all that sort of thing. It's the rules of bingo. This is about 8 to 13 or 14 seems to like it. After you get a certain age, and depending on your child, all right? Typically, they don't seem to like it as much, but they might play if they're nice and bored. So anyway, I think all of these happens to be a really kind of good thing to have in order for you to take a pretty good road trip to the Amish community, and while you're in the Amish community. Now, it seems like AT&T and T-Mobile, as far as phone service, does a little bit better than Verizon. I don't know about Cricket and some of the other providers. However, you could find maps of the Ethridge area to see if cell phone service works for you. I would definitely recommend just rolling down the windows or something and just putting your phones away. If you've watched my course here, you've already probably learned about the pocket of the Guayabera, all that sort of thing, and just put it in there and just don't play with it. This is all about seeing a type of culture. So what I would rather you do is just do something passive like this, if they just have to, or just look out the windows. You know what I mean? But we all know that on a road trip, there's going to be some boring times for kids. They're going to get a bit yippy, and they're going to get a bit antsy at times, especially if there's nothing really going on. So I want to tell you a little bit about some tips and tricks. And of course, like I've just mentioned, you can do this. Just put it, let's just do it this way then. You can put all of them and put this behind it. All of it in the clipboard. It's not going to fall out, all that sort of thing. I'm going to put this right here. If you have very small kids, obviously beyond the point of coloring and under something we would do, this is going to sound a little funny, but we would find a place that you could kind of pull over next to where you see some horses, some cows, some donkeys, sometimes goats, all the different farm animals. And we would moo at them. We'd roll the window down and go, moo. And of course the cow would be like, and it's like, moo. And it's just like looking at us, and sometimes a horse would come up thinking you're going to have some food. And especially, babies, this is under like 3. And because they're in usually a seat that's facing backwards, say they're looking towards the back end of the car, you can kind of turn it in such a way that they can see an animal while it's right up there next to the window. And that might be the first time they've ever seen a large animal. You see what I'm saying? And if coloring and all that stuff is cool with them, bring something. If it turns out that somebody had painted one of these, we'll just pull out a sheet real quick. If somebody has completed a coloring sheet and they don't care about it anymore, and you have a younger person with you, just flip it around. They're all blank on the back, and they can just grind, and they do that thing with their hand just to, what I mean? Because they're on vacation too. Spend some time with them, all that sort of thing. So I find that if you are here with some really young kids that happen to be in your care at the time of your Amish adventure, that you can still do something going through. Now, if it turns out that nobody wants to do any of this, they don't really care about certifications or anything like that, sometimes you can have them find something like this right here. It says silly book or silly jokes for kids, 800 jokes. And you can pass it around. Sometimes even teenagers. I'll be honest, sometimes I'm 47 years old. Sometimes I think a lot of these are funny. And the reason I want more of the kids to read them off is that they don't know how to sort of phonetically deal with a joke. They don't really know about the pause and the really landing of a punchline yet, all that sort of thing. So that'd be a good learning opportunity. So if they did say something like, I don't get that one about the pirate. It's like, well, you got to say it like, arr, like a pirate. Oh, hold on. I was just saying like, arr. I don't get it, you see. So it's one way you can kind of communicate pretty well. And like I mentioned earlier, once you kind of, as parents, I can't stress these enough. Having a notepad, keep notes, all right? And after you're done, you could talk about, your child, I don't know, Sarah was so funny. She didn't know that R, was part of the pirates, and you can write yourself notes of funny things that you can do. And then 6, 8 months, maybe a year and a half, 2 years down the road, you can read your notes and be like, remember when Sarah didn't know how to say that line? And everybody start laughing. Oh yeah, it didn't make it, and it's part of those memories that you have. So having a joke book or another type of book to kind of go with makes everybody kind of in the family able to do something. Obviously, the driver doesn't need to stop and read a book, one of these. Just anybody besides the driver. Sometimes the mom will just look through, or the dad, or whoever is not driving can talk back there to their kids and all that sort of thing. So they can feel included. It helps pass the time and between each place and all that sort of thing. But I definitely recommend doing a few things. Now, if you do got some much older children, that are going to probably finish high school, college, all that sort of thing. Sometimes having some just books, this is what I cover at the very end of the course, next steps or resources, like this book here. One of my favorite authors is Donald Craybill. And he has some really good books about Who is the Anabaptist. And then there's this one right here also from him, What the Amish Teach Us. All that sort of thing. And that's going to give you some ideas on the kind of how the Amish and Mennonite, the plain people, the Anabaptist movement people had been different than our own culture, all that sort of thing. And sometimes because kids are kind of curious. So if they see, say, for example, this doll and it doesn't have a face, and that's because the Amish do not believe that you should put a face on anything. They can't have a towel or something with a leopard on it because it's an image of a leopard, all that stuff. They think that only God can make the face. So whenever a doll is there, they can't have a face on it. At the same time, like, why can't the Amish men wear something like my Stetson Andover? Why do they have to wear this? Like, this is very uncomfortable too. It doesn't have like a really nice hat band. You ever seen me without my hat? That's what I look like. Anyway, it doesn't have any of the more premium features. For one, this is well over 100. This is $15. This was handmade, where these are probably machine made to make this weave, all that sort of thing. And when you're wearing it, it's usually your wife or daughter or somebody had made this. They'd sat down and just stitched it out of something that grew in your field. So it was something that you were more fond of. And two, the Amish kind of have to grow their hair below. Well, it can't go very far below the ear, but they have to have a particular amount of hair. And it's because they're kind of, this is for the men. You don't see that a lot of the ladies do this. They have a bonnet, but the men will have this big, thick thing of hair to where this band here will just sort of stick in it. So, see, I don't have that. I kind of have some short hair, and that thing will just eat me alive all the way around. Too, they have to have long enough hair in the front to where that band doesn't ruin their forehead and all that sort of thing. It's a cultural thing. They kind of have to do it. And that might be a good way to get them interested in other cultures. So when they come to see the Amish community here, it might make a whole lot more sense if you would start either before or maybe some of the things they learned while they were here made them interested in learning about the culture. So after your trip, you can get into some of these books, all that sort of thing. So anyway, that pretty much concludes this particular video. I don't want to call it a lesson because, like I mentioned just a second ago, some of you guys are going to be watching this on YouTube. Some of you guys are going to be watching this as part of the course. It's not going to be the main section of the course. It just happens to be that what I wanted to share in this particular course can go for either side. But if you do, say, for example, don't want anything to do with the course, I get that. But you still can, you guys that are on YouTube, you can still go on, make you up something like I mentioned. All right. I am going to have a free version of the course eventually. It's just that I've just now made the course that some of you guys are on now, the complete guide to visiting the Amish of Ethridge. And so it might be a little bit, because that took a couple thousand hours to make it. It's 22 hours long, over 24 lessons, 4 independent quizzes. Now the quizzes are set up in such a way that you don't fail. If you do choose a wrong answer, it'll just show you the right one. So I don't want to make test anxiety and all that sort of thing for people. So I made the test and quizzes up to be more reflective of somebody who just took it and it give them the right answer. I'm more interested in you guys getting to the end of it than I am trying to worry about a grade. The certification that I give you doesn't mean anything at the moment. No school is going to give you like a continuing education, certificate for taking it. I don't even know if LinkedIn would accept it. It's just there for kind of a communication with you and whoever's with you that, hey, I did get my certification or certificate for taking this particular course, all that sort of thing. But if you just say, look, I'm just going to go and wing it, I want to go to Ethridge and just see what happens, you're more than fine to do that. Go on to the www.amishofethridge.com, where we have all kinds of things about how you can pick between places you would like to stay. This is going to include a bed and breakfast or a hotel, or sometimes they're like a lodge, no one is around, so that your family can have that campfire experience, all that sort of thing. So ultimately, I don't get anything from that, but being that my Facebook page is rather large, a lot of people from all over the world come here. I had some people from Russia even come, and many of the European countries. I've been here several times. They tend to like it. They happen to be here for Music City or Rocket City. It just happens to be that we're a very short drive. Also, we kind of play up some of the, what are those things called? The whiskey tour, because Tennessee whiskey happens to be a big topic. A lot of people would like to go. And we're the birthplace of Southern gospel music, so a lot of music lovers are headed down towards the Shoals so they can kind of complete that trail. So we do get quite a bit of an extensive versions of guests. So one thing that I did years ago when I had my daughter is that I decided, there's too many questions I keep getting. I'm going to just make a website and a page and all that sort of thing. That way people can come here, find out a lot more information. Like I say, I get nothing from any of that stuff. If you book a hotel room, I'm not going to get any money. The only way I make money is through courses. So if you don't mind going down in the comment section and then clicking on our page where the course is going to be much more detailed to see if it is for you. And I would love for you to purchase that particular course and maybe even some of our other courses that we have right here on the Progeny Adventure Group LLC, which is the umbrella that kind of owns all of the operating companies underneath it. If anything else, hopefully I'll see another video like this one. And for you guys that are on the courses, well, I'll see you in that next lesson. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.